The Merton Mysteries, a Learn English radio series from the British Council. Dangerous Driving, Episode 3.
Hello, my name's Amanda Carlton.
And I'm David Evans. And in this series, we aim to improve your English language skills with the help of a series of crime mysteries.
At the start of the story, we heard that a car drove very fast through the centre of Merton and crashed into a number of other vehicles. The car was later found destroyed in some woods outside the town.
PC Gweno thinks the car was stolen, and so she has been trying to find its owner. And she now believes that it might belong to a footballer who plays for the local professional football team, Merton United.
Here's what happened in the last programme when PC Gweno spoke to the team's manager, a man called Ed McCain.
Just a moment. What is this about?
Well, we received a report of an expensive sports car which was involved in a number of accidents in Merton on Saturday afternoon. On Sunday morning, we found a sports car burnt out in some woods just outside the town. We think it's the same car and we're trying to find the owner.
Well, that has nothing to do with me or any of my boys.
You might be right, Mr. McCain, but do you think you could ask them? Ask them if a car has gone missing. It would be a big help.
We're always happy to cooperate with the police. If you can wait 20 minutes, I'll ask them at the end of the training session.
Thank you, Mr. McCain.
Our first scene today takes place a few minutes later. While PC Gweno is waiting for the end of the training session, she is approached by a woman who says to her,
Excuse me, did I just see you talking to Ed McCain?
PC Gweno asks who she is, and the woman says her name,
Rona Wilson.
She then explains she is a journalist who works for the local radio station, Merton FM. And she tells PC Gweno why she wants to speak to her.
Well, I see a police officer talking to the manager at the training ground, and I ask myself, what is going on?
She uses the phrase going on to suggest that she thinks that something unusual or mysterious is happening. And here are 3 questions for you. Why does Rona think something is going on? What happened on Saturday? And what strange decisions did the manager make? Here's the scene.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Did I just see you talking to Ed McCain?
I'm sorry, who are you?
Rona Wilson, Merton FM. You know, local radio.
Oh, I know all about Merton FM.
Well, I do the sports reporting for them.
Oh, do you?
And it's just that, well, I see a police officer talking to the manager at the training ground, and I ask myself, what is going on?
Well, I can tell you nothing is going on.
Oh, I think something is going on. Oh, yes. I think something is definitely going on.
Really? And why do you say that?
Well, the club's in trouble, isn't it? The manager is certainly in trouble.
Is he?
Don't you follow football? Don't you listen to the radio?
Well, I do a bit.
No, you don't. If you did, you'd know.
What would I know?
You'd know they lost on Saturday, for one thing. 4-0. And it was a match everyone thought they would win.
Oh, was it?
Yes. And the way I see it, the manager made some very strange decisions that afternoon.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, he kept his best player on the substitutes bench for the whole afternoon.
His best player?
Antonio Paredes?
So why did he do that?
Well, that is something I'd like to find out. But Ed McCain refuses to talk to me. He says I'm only interested in bad news. I tell him I'm just trying to keep my listeners happy. They want to know what's going on.
Is that right?
Yes. So, if you could give me an idea of why the police are here, that would be great.
No, I'm sorry, Rona.
If you help me, officer, perhaps I can help you.
No, really, Rona, I'm sorry. This is police business.
Well, it was worth a try.
So, why does Rona think something is going on? She explains.
The club's in trouble, isn't it? The manager is certainly in trouble.
And what happened to Merton United on Saturday? She tells PC Gweno.
They lost on Saturday, for one thing. 4-0. And it was a match everyone thought they would win.
By the way, when people talk about the score in football, they use the word nil instead of 0. And what strange decisions did the manager make? Rona says
he kept his best player on the substitutes bench for the whole afternoon.
a substitute is a player who doesn't start the game but may replace another player later. And the bench is the place where the substitutes sit while they are waiting. Rona says she'd like to find out why Ed McCain took this decision, but she explains,
Ed McCain refuses to talk to me. He says I'm only interested in bad news.
And so she wants PC Gweno to help her find out what is happening. But PC Gweno says,
I'm sorry. This is police business.
You're listening to the Merton Mysteries, a Learn English radio series from the British Council. And don't forget, you can find more resources at our website at learnenglish.britishcouncil.org. The next scene takes place a few minutes later. The training session has just finished, and PC Gweno runs after Ed McCain as he walks away. She asks,
Have you had a chance to talk to your players, Mr. McCain, about the car?
Ed McCain tells her he has talked to them and says,
One of them says he hasn't seen his car since the match on Saturday.
The player's name is Antonio Paredes. And here are two questions for you. Where did Antonio Paredes park his car? And why hasn't he reported it missing? Here's the first part of the scene.
Mr. McCain!
What is it?
Mr. McCain,
Oh, it's you, officer.
have you had a chance to talk to your players, Mr. McCain, about the car?
Yes, I did mention it.
And?
Well, one of them says he hasn't seen his car since the match on Saturday.
Really? And who's that?
His name's Paredes. Antonio Paredes.
Antonio Paredes.
Yes, he says he parked it outside the stadium before the game and he hasn't seen it since.
But the match was on Saturday afternoon. That's 3 days ago. Why hasn't he reported it missing?
Well, these boys, they're not like normal people. They've got everything. They've got more money than they know what to do with. If something goes missing, they don't really notice. They certainly don't care.
What, even an expensive sports car?
Paredes knows he'll get another. He's not worried.
So, where did Antonio Paredes park his car? Ed McCain says,
He parked it outside the stadium before the game, and he hasn't seen it since.
PC Gweno is surprised and says,
But the match was on Saturday afternoon. That's 3 days ago.
So why hasn't Paredes reported the car missing? Ed McCain says,
These boys, they're not like normal people. They've got everything. If something goes missing, they don't really notice.
PC Gweno is rather puzzled and asks,
What, even an expensive sports car?
but Ed McCain tells her,
Paredes knows he'll get another. He's not worried. You're listening to the Merton Mysteries, a Learn English radio programme from the British Council.
When the scene continues, Gwenno continues to ask about Antonio Paredes. She says,
If he didn't have his car, how did he get home after the game?
and my next question is, what is Ed McCain's answer to that? PC Gwenno then says she'd like to speak to Antonio Paredes and asks for his mobile phone number. Ed McCain replies,
I don't expect it'll do you any good.
in other words, it won't help you. And what reasons does he give for saying this? And one more question for you. What does Ed McCain say he will do to help? Here's the second part of the scene.
But, excuse me, if he didn't have his car, how did he get home after the game?
Oh, one of the other boys probably drove him.
I see. So, this car, was it a yellow sports car, perhaps?
I've no idea.
Well, can I speak to him?
Sorry, he's finished for the day. He's gone.
Do you know where?
Look, I'm his manager, not his mother.
Well, could you give me his mobile phone number?
I could, but I don't expect it'll do you any good. He never answers it. And even if he does, he only speaks about 3 words of English.
Well, how do you speak to him then?
Oh, we understand each other all right. We find a way.
I'm sorry, Mr. McCain. You're not being very helpful, are you?
Really? All right. I tell you what I'll do. I'll speak to him at training tomorrow morning. I'll find out everything I can, and then I'll give you a call. How about that?
Thank you, Mr. McCain.
So, how did Antonio Paredes get home after the game on Saturday? Ed McCain says,
One of the other boys probably drove him.
and why does Ed McCain think that Antonio Paredes' mobile phone number won't be useful to PC Gwenno? He says,
He never answers it. And even if he does, he only speaks about 3 words of English.
and what about my final question? What does Ed McCain say he will do to help? He tells PC Gwenno,
I'll speak to him at training tomorrow morning. I'll find out everything I can, and then I'll give you a call.
so is Antonio Paredes the owner of the sports car that was found in the woods? If he is, why didn't he report it missing before? And is something strange going on at Merton United? To find out, join us again next time for the next episode of our story, Dangerous Driving. Now here's a chance to hear a part of today's drama again.
Excuse me,
Yes?
did I just see you talking to Ed McCain?
I'm sorry, who are you?
Rona Wilson, Merton FM. You know, local radio.
Oh, I know all about Merton FM.
Well, I do the sports reporting for them.
Oh, do you?
And it's just that, well, I see a police officer talking to the manager at the training ground, and I ask myself, what is going on?
Well, I can tell you nothing is going on.
Oh, I think something is going on. Oh, yes. I think something is definitely going on.
Really? And why do you say that?
Well, the club's in trouble, isn't it? The manager is certainly in trouble.
Is he?
Don't you follow football?
But that's all for today. You've been listening to The Merton Mysteries, a British Council Learn English radio series. And remember, you can find more resources at the British Council Learn English website at learnenglish.britishcouncil.org. Until next time, from Amanda Carlton and me, David Evans,
Goodbye.
goodbye.